It's Spoilerin time. This show takes all the hard work we do on our other show, Cordkillers, where we figure out how to watch stuff. Then we watch it. We talk about it here. This week, we're going to spoil Hannibal, Season 2, Episode 3, Raised by Wolves, Season 1, Episodes 7 and 8, and the premiere of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I'm Tom Merritt. He's Brian Brushwood.
Dude, and I couldn't be more excited to disagree with you, which I am certain we will do in at least one out of the 4 different things we're about to discuss.
Yes, Brian, you're absolutely right. Let's talk about Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Episode 1.
Wait, that's how therapists do it. They just say, you're right. It's fine to disagree. And then you
Tell me more.
Okay, go ahead.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Episode 1. What'd you think, Brian?
Let me sketch around my opinion in negative space. Things that happened in this show. About 10 minutes in, somebody gave a speech in which he said, as you know, billions of people appeared on this earth a few months ago. And then another thing that happened, a banker says, oh my God, are you one of those heroes? Oh, we thought you were dead. He was like, yes, but I came back just like billions of other people. Yeah. Oh man, banking is so complicated. What with all the billions of people that came back? Did we not mention that loud enough earlier? That's a rational thing. Tom,
it might be the only thing I talk about if billions of people across the universe disappeared and reappeared.
For months,
yes,
though?
Absolutely.
Okay.
What are you talking? Of course.
You know
we
what?
watched The Leftovers. That show was years about these people disappearing.
Gonna put a pin in that. Right. That was a terrible video game that we watched for the first 7 minutes of this, where just like everybody had all of the powers, and it's like, go, robot, laser, flying drone, opens doors in flying planes, gizmo. Picha! Trademark. And then Tom, I hated this show. I hated the show. My kids could not keep their attention on it. We kept having to pause it to call out how awful the writing is and about how the fact that it's called The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and yet we get very little of either. It almost got interesting when they were talking about Dad's boat. It almost got interesting when it talks about like working with a therapist about how you murdered a bunch of people. And then that's it. That's all we had. Then it was over. I hated it. I hate the show.
The episode didn't even end with them like clasping hands.
It's a piece of garbage.
Like
garbage. It's garbage. I hate this show. Sorry. I might be too quick. Go ahead.
It sounds like you think the show is garbage. Tell me more about that.
I suspect it may be garbage.
So you think it might be garbage, not that it is garbage.
I am attempting to make amends, Tom. Wait, oh, do you think it is garbage?
This isn't about me. We're here for you, Brian.
Okay.
Wait, sorry. No, we're not. It's spoiler time.
Following our 3 rules, I will not. You know what? Tom, I think the show's garbage.
Okay.
I think there's a reason it was slated to be number 1 and got moved to number 2. I think they figured out that it's a bad show.
I actually disagree with that. I think this show plays better if WandaVision had come out later. I think if this is the first Marvel show, people are more forgiving.
Right. Which is, of course, why they made it the first Marvel. Oh, no, they didn't, did they?
Well, they changed it because of production schedules that were COVID impacted.
Got it.
Do you not believe that? You think that's a conspiracy theory or something?
I'm just saying, if I knew that of 2 shows, one was worse than the other, I might say literally any combination
you're thinking
of syllables.
That they think the same way you do, and I don't think they do.
Yes, because I'm jaded and awful. Oh, wait, what do I have in common with Hollywood? Go ahead.
Yeah, I will definitely disagree with you if you're putting forth the idea that Marvel thinks Falcon and the Winter Soldier is garbage, and so they faked production schedule changes to put it out second. But Where I will agree with you is that I didn't really enjoy watching this. I thought it was kind of boring. I didn't hate it. I didn't think it was garbage at all. I thought it was fine, but I think I would have liked it better if I hadn't seen WandaVision, because WandaVision was so different and experimental, especially in its early episodes. And Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it felt like a really long part of a movie. And some people love that. Some people are way into it because of that. They're like, yeah, finally, action scenes. That's what I wanted. Um, it didn't really do it for me. And I'm hoping that it gets more interesting, but I, I didn't hate it. So I do disagree with you, but I also didn't go back and watch this twice.
Well, but I really, really want to hear what Bryce thinks. But the last parting shots I have is, number one, I tend to look for who and what do I care for? And the closest I get is that loan and that boat. Kind of care about that. I didn't even mind. I know that within the comic books, I was deeply offended when they just put a yes man in the role of Captain America. That really upset me in the comic books. I felt nothing for that moment in there. I found it ridiculous that they wedged in, Rhodey, War Machine, to say, man, totally crazy that we all came back from the dead. Anyway, I thought the writing was bad. I thought that the set pieces looked like a video game, which can work when there are stakes. For the life of me, okay, I'm sorry, but my least favorite Pornhub channel is Flag Smashers. And it wasn't even me that made that joke. It was my wife, because I saw it coming from a mile away. And I was like, who's going to be a good dad? Me. Not going to make the fact that Flag Smashers sounds like a porn name. 5 minutes later, Bonnie, my wife, says, Flag Smashers. That sounds like a porn name. I'm like, okay, fine.
Yeah, how dare her?
I did. No. Okay.
How dare her talk about sex?
Well, in front of our 8-year-old. Yeah, you're right.
You didn't say that. You told the whole story. What do you want
I didn't
from
mention
me?
that our whole family was gathered for this, and I was being the good guy. Look,
You win, yes, cougar.
Okay.
Come on.
Here, this
Can
is Marvel. I know you can do better. That would be my review. It's not. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed, because I know I've seen how good you can be in Marvel, and I've seen how good you can be in episodic format. I've seen how good you can be in miniseries. I've seen how you can be in a post-snap universe.
What? But why should they please you?
Because I almost cursed. Because I pay them, Tom. Because they work for me.
What if they're pleasing lots of other people who also pay them, and changing would displease them?
Well, then they need to stop that and get back to the business of pleasing me. I don't understand.
Tom, it's very clear. It's called Brian Plus.
is.
We're all subscribing to Brian Plus.
I mean,
his $10 is really going to him.
All right, let's hear what Bryce
thought.
I thought it was. I actually ended up having to watch this a second time, because after the first time I watched
You realized
this,
it made
I thought
no sense.
that did anything happen in that episode at all? And no is not
they
not
almost
a good
put
answer,
a shield in a box, but then they took it back out.
But I will say, for about 60 minutes of television, not a lot happens, especially when the two titular characters don't meet up, say, at the end of the first of 6 parts of whatever the series is. So I think the pacing is very frustrating. The other thing is that I couldn't help I couldn't help recognize the very the almost pro-war stance of this show. I kind of couldn't get away from the globalists are gonna destroy the world. They want to get rid of the border. Don't you want to keep the border? There was a lot of little bits like that are, everyone's got their own taste on that, and I'm not making a good judgment call, but I definitely couldn't avoid thinking that Raytheon would have loved to have been in this program.
It did. I'm raising my hand. It did make me think of that moment in The Simpsons where Lisa almost dates Nelson, and she's over at his place, and he's got a poster that says "Nuke the whales," and Lisa says, "Nuke the whales? Why do you have a poster that says nuke the whales?" And Nelson says, "Well, you gotta nuke something."
It did feel a little like why was so it seems like a very strange antagonist to set up here, especially when one half of the story, the Bucky stuff, isn't really intersecting with that yet at all.
That was the other thing that bugged me. First of all, I don't even remember that we got introduced to an antagonist. Second of all, it felt like there were two different shows. There was the Bucky show, and then there was the Falcon show. And I can't wait for them to meet and become Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
I wonder if I wonder, because both Bucky and Falcon had like one action sequence in this episode. I wonder if like that is like a weird Who Framed Roger Rabbit like equal screen time thing that they've got to deal with in future episodes or not. But
I don't know.
That's just a flyer. But yeah, I think that it's I don't want to judge all of it based on one episode, especially pacing wise, because who knows, maybe everything picks up next episode. But I just thought it was kind of slow and made me feel like this is we might in 6 weeks be on the other side of the Snyder cut of Marvel. We might have just seen a 6-hour Marvel movie, and one of the ones where they're just punching people for the whole time.
That's well, actually, I think you're onto something, because I can picture a version of even just the first episode that we saw, because the whole, I'm going to say the words out loud, I hate them, flag smasher thing or whatever. That was an echo of one of the things I rather liked about the latest season of Westworld, the idea that it's like you're gigging by a real life GTA app game, you know, you got missions to do and so on. What if the first episode was us digging whatever it is, you know, somebody in this environment and understanding, you know, what it's like to be part of the chaos and the attraction of all that. And then in the background, you knew that there's this guy, you know, this federal agent, or maybe even hold off the Winter Soldier till the second episode or whatever. I mean, I don't know. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that far off. I think we're all relatively on the same page with this, and I hope it turns it around. That said, my wife loved it. She thought it was fun. She thought it was great. She's like, oh yeah, that was good. She was surprised that I was even mildly negative about it. And I certainly wasn't as negative as you, Brian, but so I'm seeing a lot of people who enjoyed it too. So it's for someone. It just apparently isn't the three of us.
I definitely forgot. The one thing that I didn't catch until I saw it in a comment that made me rewatch the episode that second time. I completely missed all of the stuff with between Bucky and Yori, and all of the meaningful glances about them saying, "Oh, Bucky killed Yori's kid, and that's why they're hanging out." And that's like, for whatever reason, that completely went over my head the first time I watched it. And now that I see it, yeah, and then watching it the second time, I was like, "Oh, this is really heavy-handed."
Well, and I did pick up on it, and even then, I was sad that it's like, no, Yori should be like his old friend from when they fought in the Korean War or something, like some
that's I think that's that
World War II thing.
I have no problem with what they did there, which was they led you to believe that's what the case was, right? Oh, this must be one of Bucky's friends, and because he doesn't age, you know, he's taking care of him. And then you find out that's not why. It's because he killed the guy's son.
Right.
And I thought that worked. That wouldn't be something I'd pick on. I got it right away. And I was actually, that was one of the few times where I'm like, oh, I'm glad it's not the thing that I expected, or I would have been disappointed by that.
Okay. Just a pitch. Imagine this episode was mostly from the perspective of, spoilers for Westworld, an Aaron Paul character who's engaged with the app, who's participating in the flag smasher phenomenon or whatever. The rhetoric being, oh, America and their jingoistic garbage, they're all whatever. Like, imagine if they held back all of that boo-hoo Captain America died stuff and instead got us completely on the side of the bad guys right up to the end where they released this obvious clown of a fake fill-in yes man Captain America. And our guy, our Aaron Paul with the app is just like, oh, we're going to take him down. And for a brief moment, like we begin with hating everything that both the Falcon and the Winter Soldier are in defense of, but instead they pull us over. Oh, there could have been so much there that I would have been on board.
Don't fall in love with the hypothetical story that you've just written, though.
It's a good story. It's a
I understand. And you should have pitched that to Disney Plus.
You're right.
But we have to kind of take it as it's presented. And
yeah. Okay. Well, in that case, I take it.
Yeah,
as
I mean, there's no end of alternatives. If you didn't like it, then all you have to do is come up with something else, and it will be better by comparison, right? That's an easy game to win.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see next week. Maybe they do that next week. Who knows?
Maybe they're good now. They are, because they heard Brian's idea. They're totally going to steal it.
Too late.
Yeah. All right. That is Falcon and the Winter Soldier, episode 1. Let's talk about Raised by Wolves, episodes 7 and 8. Faces and Masks. Mother knows who Marcus is, threatens to expose him. At one time, starts shouting, and nobody believes her, or do they? Campion gets thrown in a hole. Well, not really a hole. He's shut up in one of the silos, and he sort of gets helped into an escape. Marcus is now wooed over to the Mithraic side because he keeps hearing the voices. And now he's dominating Sue, who tries to escape with Paul to get away, but he stops her. And Mother experiences what she believes to be malfunctions, and then escapes to the wreckage to try to get a doctor to fill her with fluid. And turns out she's got a baby somehow.
Yeah. Full disclosure, I had 15 minutes left on this one before we ran out of time, but that's what I assumed. They kept referring to it as like an anomaly of a mass that's inside. Mm-hmm. Oh, I feel it kicking. Well, what do you suppose that means? It's good.
We only have 2 episodes left. This series built up a lot of trust with me that, the rules are the rules, right? And so there's an explanation for everything. But we still don't know why we're seeing the dead girl. We still don't know why Marcus is hearing voices. We still don't know what that big thing is out in the desert. And now we have another mystery that somehow Mother has a silicone baby inside her. So it's pushed me to the edge of credulity to be like, you better have explanations for these things, because what I feel was set up was the Mithraics believe things happen because of spirituality, and the atheists believe there's an explanation, and there's an underlying explanation for all of that so far. And we have 2 episodes to resolve that. Now I'm starting to feel skeptical that they will either resolve it with explanations, or maybe just tilt towards being like, and it was magic and spirituality the whole time.
Yes to everything you said, and I'm going to hand everything over to Bryce because he knows more than I do. But I do rather like the complete parody. I love the hypocrisy of Marcus and Mother just flat out saying, you're a liar. No, you're a liar. Also, we're both on the same team, but are we both lying in the same way? Who's the better liar or whatever? There is something to that. And it was emotionally a dark moment when Campion looks left, looks right, realizes hey man, no matter what I do, this is going to be a Mithraic world. Sure, I'll say the words, put the water on my head, whatever. Glances over, and what breaks him is seeing a tombstone, a gravestone used, as
To build the church. Yeah, they desecrated the graves of his dead siblings to build the church. Yeah,
that was a good fairly
moment.
powerful to me.
Yeah, I like that too.
What I'll say, I have seen the show. I don't think that this is a spoiler. What I would say is, I don't believe that this is painted to be a miniseries. We know that they've just started production on season 2. And so, Tom, to some of your concerns, I would say that. But it has been interesting. I think the moment that I believe you pointed out, Brian, where Mother and Marcus are kind of having it's a really great moment where you realize, oh, these characters are the exact same person, right? They originally were for one faction, and then through however means, right, being reprogrammed or doing the plastic surgery and going on the Ark, have switched sides, and their allegiance is shaky, right? It's unsure.
It's stated out loud as being identical, but in their hearts is very different. Whatever heart an alien or android can have.
Sure. Just character profile wise, I mean, they're the same. They're the opposite sides of the same coin, right? They both go through the same journey. And I think that was something that I had missed, but it's really interesting. The other thing that I'll say in terms of the mystery here, in terms of speculation, one thing I didn't notice until rewatching it with y'all this time was they mentioned at one point that the Mithraics had technology based on their scriptures that they had found, right? Am I remembering this right? I believe they say at one point the tech that the Mithraics have was actually stuff that was encrypted in the scriptures that they found.
Yeah, right.
Which was really interesting.
They have been very, very clear that those dumb, stupid atheists, they'll never catch up to our tech. Our tech is better. And
the necromancers are a Mithraic technology.
And there is a direct reference to they don't know how their stuff works. They decrypted it, the design, but they don't know where it comes from.
Which I thought. Oh, I did not remember that, or maybe catch that in the first run watch through. But that kind of opened up the doors, I think, on what can happen on the Mithraic side. But I'm interested to see how you guys think next week when we kind of wrap this season up, because it's a really good mystery, and I'm gonna say that. Just to put it in plain text, a lot of stuff is not going to be solved next week. But it's not going to be hand waved away either, I think.
Regarding these 2 episodes, I'm assuming that Father doesn't get just suddenly rebooted and become awesome
I actually want to focus on that. Father's got a little twitch in his finger that they're very clearly signaling is more than just a twitch in his finger.
Right.
And his arm is doing things that he doesn't seem to be in control of, including saving people's lives.
Right. So explain that.
What did you think about
it? Okay, so I'm going to guess that in the last 15 minutes, which I'm about to watch as soon as we wrap up.
That does not resolve, no.
Okay, all right. Still good. Man, I hate leaning on this, but there's no such thing as a bad episode, but there is some least best.
You could just say this was your least favorite episode of Raised by Wolves. You don't have to couch it.
These 2 are my least favorite in that they're just sort of dangling. They already set up the idea of okay, what's this ghost of one of the kids? Wait, what's the ghost of Saul that's in Marcus's mind? What's everybody hearing?
I don't need answers to that stuff. I need a few more clues that I could use to weave a theory about why it's happening.
Right.
I think that's what's frustrating me.
Just a little bit of progression is all I'm asking for.
Right now, it feels like, oh, he's just hearing Soul's voice. I'm like, okay. I mean, if that's all it is, I guess that's what it'll be. But and maybe the clues are there and I just haven't picked up on it.
Although I did like the fact that they said out loud, hey, you do realize that almost certainly, yes, we're on the edges of space and there's only, one ship from each faction here, but that can't be how it's going to be forever.
No, I like that too.
I'm like, thank you for saying that out loud. Yeah.
Gives you a little more uncertainty. Well, anything else on Raised by Wolves?
No, but I do love that you just coined the word undercertainty. That's great.
I just said that gives you more uncertainty, but
I heard uncertainty, which is even better. Yeah.
That's Raised by Wolves, episodes 7 and 8. Let's talk about Hannibal, season 2, episode 3, the trial of Will, and the ping pong of his defense, and Hannibal swinging over to help, to the point of possibly murdering the judge when he doesn't like the way the judge is ruling.
Would somebody who isn't me like to talk first?
I definitely was waiting at the beginning for them to say, this is the dream now. You're in the dream. This Will Graham isn't getting, electrocuted to death and then being put on trial yet. We definitely so we're having a really interesting relationship with the idea of Will as an unreliable narrator, I think. And I was glad they kind of time skipped us into the trial, and we all kind of wrapped up this whole trial thing for now at the end of the episode. I think we're seeing a really good dynamic between Hannibal and Will as well. Tom?
Yeah, I actually like that Will's pendulum came back, and that Will's dream state is tied to his mood. His dream is that he's being electrocuted when he's like, I do not feel like I have a way out of this. And then when he starts to feel a little more hopeful, he goes back to fishing again. So I'm like, oh, okay, that. So we're seeing his dream state reflecting his state of mind.
If either of you can convince me that it's not obviously Hannibal who did all of the killings for the purpose of freeing Will, then I will not call this my least favorite episode.
So you don't like this episode because Hannibal kills people? You think that's too expected, too obvious?
Sorry, what I meant was anyone but Tom, if you can explain to me. I mean, yeah, no, of course, Hannibal kills people or whatever, but it was.
But he's doing it against his best interest, right? Like Will is set up to really take the fall for this, and Hannibal is toying out this kind of unprecedented situation. I believe that's kind of his MO, is wanting to see what would happen.
And you're right. And we almost got 3 whole episodes of tension out of that. And now we don't, because we know that Hannibal used his killing powers to free Will.
Well, it's definitely not free. I mean, that mistrial doesn't change the fact that he's going to be tried for these crimes.
Yeah, he's still in jail. And I feel like what I like about this is that Will has manipulated Hannibal into doing this,
which is really interesting because I think all of that has happened very subtextually, but it's very obvious to the character, right? Like Gillian Anderson's character mentions that.
Walk me through that. Like, what did he do to manipulate Hannibal? Because in my mind, Hannibal is impermeable to all things and sees through everything.
I think the manipulation.
I would have had to take more notes to this, but my, I should probably write things down. But essentially, every time Hannibal has visited Will has very carefully crafted what he says to Hannibal, to let Hannibal think that Will would like to come back over to being on Hannibal's side. And Hannibal has slowly changed his approach to what he's doing for Will over these 3 episodes in response.
In fact, talking about the tension that you kind of felt was deflated here, like that is Hannibal's game, is to rebuild that tension and rebuild that house of cards, basically, between Will and Hannibal. Because if Will truly felt confident that no, Hannibal is the one doing it, he wouldn't talk to him. He wouldn't see him. They wouldn't be having this repartee of
no.
We've got to find this other killer. Like that is kind of the manipulation. Is
I totally disagree. I feel like they very obviously set up. Hey, I'm trapped in a cage. What are my tools? My tools are, above all else, don't let Hannibal know that I'm onto him. So second to that, if I can get Hannibal to do anything, get him to do those things. And along the way, Gillian Anderson says, I believe you, and that's nice and reaffirming. And his other FBI friend says, okay, I'll think about the world as if you're not a killer or whatever. And so I feel I perceive, and maybe we're just reading the rules of the world wrong or differently. I believe the rules of the world is that Hannibal is never fooled by anything ever. And
you may be right, but it looks like not that he's been fooled, but that he believes Will can be his friend when Will has no intention of that ever being true. And Hannibal may even see through that. Hannibal may be like, Will doesn't yet believe it, but I'll do these things for him, and then that'll bring him over to my side.
And I think it's very likely that Will doesn't even know that he's doing this. Right? I mean, he seems to, I think they do a pretty good convincing job of showing him in an incredibly unstable mental state. I think if what's happening is Will is looking for a friend and Hannibal Lecter just manages to kind of look like the friend, and there's a third killer or some other party who's doing the killing, I would kind of believe on some level that Will is being kind of led down that path in earnest.
Maybe, and let me just throw this out here. Part of my disappointment is, in general, when we get to a court scene episode, what I hope for is a gotcha twist, a clever argument. You didn't see this coming, judge, objection. How about he's innocent? And we got none of that. Anyway, they almost had a court episode, but then the bailiff got shot and did a greatest hits album of all of the killer's things. Therefore, it's a mistrial, which is, as we go out of our way to say again and again, is as good as a win. I don't know.
I mean, what you just described is what I liked about this is we didn't get a typical courthouse twist. Oh, here it comes. We got something way more interesting, which is Hannibal changing tack and saying, maybe I can get Will off by doing a greatest hits on the bailiff to show that Will couldn't have done it. And then when that doesn't work, he kills the judge and
so
just resets the clock.
Because he's accused of not being the original killer, but of being a copycat killer. Right. So if they're able to prove that there could at least be some other copycat killer, then that's plausible deniability.
And there's that
Will.
whole thing where Will sees the weakness, and Hannibal's like, "Oh, I was hoping you wouldn't see that."
Right.
Because Hannibal knew it was there. He was just hoping it wouldn't get noticed.
And when Will sees it,
he starts to realize, okay, this isn't going to fly. So then when the judge basically annoys him in court, he's like, well, let's just reset the clock. Let's just start this whole thing over again, and kills the judge.
Because that puts Will in the exact same spot that the daughter who died,
Abigail.
Yeah. Abigail.
Yeah.
That puts Will in the same
dead?
Situation. Well, we still don't know how she died, or
there's no body.
We don't know.
She did not die. She's just got one ear.
She's just off shooting the magicians, and she'll be back.
But that puts Will in that exact same place where now he has to share this secret with Hannibal of like, well, you and I know that it's obvious that I didn't do that first murder, but it's beneficial to both of us to let that be.
Well, but Will has definitely Will has definitely realized, like, he had the memory of having the ear shoved down his throat.
Was that? We did see that. I remember seeing that an episode or two ago.
Yeah,
was that?
But that was
memory?
one of his epiphanies that led him to, no, I'm not crazy. I know who I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't see a lot of cooperation. Any moment I see Will and Hannibal in the same room, I feel like Will is trying to play Hannibal.
You think they didn't cooperate from that bailiff murder?
Oh no. Will wants Hannibal to think he's cooperating, but I'm with Brian. He's trying to play him.
Yeah.
I did think it was also a good, talking about kind of a court legal procedure kind of twist. I mean, the big twist is that the bailiff move didn't even work, right? Despite covering up the forensic, footprints of why this definitely isn't from the same killer. I thought it was very funny that also it just didn't work. So we got to kill another guy. That was a good twist to me.
Yeah. Side bet. How convinced are we that we just never see Gillian Anderson again?
I would put $20 on it.
Yeah.
It's
a bummer.
I think they gave us a very strong farewell tour.
Her popping out of nowhere would be
great.
Amazing.
That would be awesome.
Anything else on Hannibal?
Nah, I got nothing.
All right, that is Hannibal, episode 3 of season 2. Thank you for joining us for Spoilerin' Time. If you're a patron, you get these episodes early. So become a patron if you're not already a patron at patreon.com/Cordkillers. Next week, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, episode 2, Raised by Wolves, episodes 9 and 10, the last 2 episodes, and Hannibal, episode 4 of season 2. Until then, we'll spoil you soon.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.